Alright, Helldivers, today we're talking about one of the most powerful yet outright dangerous weapons in the game, the LAS-17 Double-Edge Sickle, or DE Sickle for short. It just dropped in the latest Warbond Servants of Freedom. Now this gun is an absolute menace, both to your enemies and to yourself if you're not careful. It's a high-powered laser assault rifle with infinite ammo, insane armor penetration, and one little problem. It tries to kill you if you fire it too much. Yep, the DE Sickle doesn't need to reload most of the time, but instead it builds up heat. And if you don't manage that heat properly, congratulations, you are now the barbecue. A quick controversial take, I know there's a lot of hype around this gun, but I still think the explosive crossbow is my personal favorite primary. Don't get me wrong, the DE Sickle is a very close second for me. I just like to get medieval on those communist bots. So in this video, we're taking a deep dive into everything you need to know about how to master the sickle. I'm talking damage mechanics, heat control, best strategies, and the perfect armor and boosters to keep you from turning into a human torch. If you've ever wanted to experience the thrill of both being the shooter and the shot at the same time, then this is the guide for you. If you enjoy this video and find it helpful, please leave a like and consider subscribing. Also, let me know if you've enjoyed the DE Sickle so far down in the comment section, or like me, if there's still another primary that takes the cake. The Double-Edge Sickle is not your average assault rifle. Unlike the traditional weapons in Helldivers 2, the Sickle doesn't use ammo. Instead, it runs on a heat-based system, much like the other laser weapons in the game, which means you'll never have to reload. Sounds amazing, right? Infinite firepower with no ammo concerns, just pure laser-powered destruction. It's a similar system, like I said, to the other energy-based weapons that are already in the game. However, there is a catch. The more you fire it, the hotter it gets. And once it gets too hot, the gun literally starts burning you alive. It doesn't shut off, it doesn't cool down for you, at least not immediately or very quickly. Once it does, it punishes you for being trigger happy by slowly cooking you like a rotisserie chicken. If you use it recklessly, you'll essentially be fighting two enemies, the Terminids in front of you and your own self-destructive tendencies. Let me break down really quick how the Sickle's heat levels actually work, because understanding this piece is the key difference between dominating the battlefield and actually rage quitting because your own gun kills you. At 0 to 25% heat, the Sickle's just vibing, just hanging out. It deals 55 damage per shot, and it has light armor penetration. You can fire freely with 0 risk, and everything's fine. Enjoy it while it lasts. At 26 to 50% heat, things start getting a little interesting. The damage stays the same, but now you can punch through medium armor. This is where the Sickle starts to get really good too. However, this is where the Sickle also turns on you. From this point forward, you'll start taking at least 10 heat damage per second just for holding the trigger down too long. It's manageable at this point, but this is where you're going to start sweating, literally. And 10 heat damage per second does not sound like a lot, but trust me, it does actually kill you pretty quickly. At 51 to 90% heat, you're in the danger zone. The damage jumps to 70 per shot, and it still pierces medium armor, which is great, except now you're taking 20 heat damage per second, meaning you're actively dying if you stay here too long. This is where the weak get separated from the true democratic Helldivers. And then there's the 91% heat and beyond area, aka oh god I made a mistake mode. Now you're doing 70 damage per shot with heavy armor penetration, which is amazing, until you realize you are literally on fire and dying almost instantly without the right gear, which I'll get to that just here in a moment. At this stage, you take 50 heat damage per second, 50, which means you don't even get to enjoy all the power before you drop dead, screaming, wondering why you did this to yourself. So, lesson learned, if you're playing with the Sickle, you better learn heat management fast, or you're going to be the first Helldiver to die from self-inflicted war crimes. Actually, at this point in the game, I doubt you'd be the first. Now that we know the Sickle is both your best friend and worst enemy, how do you actually use it properly? Well, the number one rule is simple: don't just hold the trigger down. Seriously, if you're going to try to use this thing like an LMG, you're going to combust faster than a Super Earth propaganda officer when asked about collateral damage. The best way to use the Sickle is short, controlled bursts. Fire for a couple seconds, let it cool slightly, fire again. This keeps your heat low enough to stay safe while still letting you mow down enemies effectively. Another major key is watching that heat gauge like your life depends on it, because it does. If you see that bar creeping towards 50%, I'd back off. You don't want to find yourself in the oh no, I'm literally burning zone in the middle of a Terminid swarm. Now, with all that being said, all those bits and pieces about fire damage and everything, there is something that can be done to mitigate a lot of that. Picking the right armor and boosters can make the DE Sickle infinitely less lethal to you as the player. You essentially take no damage from this combination until you get to about that 91% threshold. All you've got to do is simply equip fire-resistant armor and the Vitality Booster. You can find the armor that you need in the Freedom's Flame Warbond. You can use either one of the armor sets in the Warbond, they both work, but this armor dramatically reduces fire damage, meaning you can push your Sickle to a higher heat level before you start seeing your health bar evaporate. If you pair that with the Vitality Enhancement Booster, which reduces all damage ticks by a flat amount, and suddenly all that self-inflicted damage becomes much more manageable. You essentially, like I said before, take 0 damage from the heat until you hit 91%. If you're feeling extra reckless and want to stay in the danger zone for longer, consider having a teammate with a stim pistol who can keep you alive while you run your gun at max heat. You will pretty much melt every single heavy enemy this game has to offer if you do that, by the way. Just, you know, don't be the guy who forces his team to babysit him every mission. And then the last couple tips, always carry stim packs. The moment you start taking heat damage, pop a stim and keep going. Second, coordinate with your team. The Sickle's high armor penetration makes it perfect for melting heavy enemies, so if your squad covers you while you manage your heat, you'll be an unstoppable force. Finally, don't be afraid to push the limits, just do it smartly with the right armor sets. The high risk, high reward gameplay is what makes the Sickle one of the most fun weapons in Helldivers 2, but only if you learn how to control it or mitigate it. So there you have it. This is the ultimate guide to using the DE Sickle without accidentally setting yourself on fire like a Helldiver-shaped candle. It's an insanely powerful weapon, but it demands discipline, control, and just a tiny bit of recklessness. If you master heat management and pair it with the right gear, you will absolutely melt enemies while staying alive just long enough to call in the evac. Now tell me, have you ever burned yourself alive using the Sickle? Let's be honest, guys. I mean, I've done it. Drop your best self-inflicted death stories in the comments, Sickle related or otherwise. And if you found this guide helpful, hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you on the battlefield. Just hopefully not engulfed in flames.